I stumbled onto a major company conspiracy.
What you stumbled upon goes way deeper than you could ever fathom.
What the hell are you talking about?
Listen and learn. Listen and learn. Listen and learn.
You gonna learn today?
I offer them whatever help I can.
Pay attention, son. This is for your own good.
So I don't wish to offend anybody. I don't mean to offend anybody or to make anybody mad about anything.
Okay.
But I believe...
But you're gonna.
I believe that Jesus is a metaphor for the sun. And that our religions are based off of the worship of the sun, the moon, the stars, the constellations, the planets. And that the religions that we have today are kind of giving the people the Santa version of the story. That there's an encoded message in all of the religions.
Preach.
And, right. And when you're able to see through the symbols and kind of you're able to tell what the story is, now you'll see why the sun is so important. How the sun is the most adorned object of all time. And how the four seasons, spring, summer, fall, and winter are all connected to each other, and they play a big part in human history. And these are what we get our religions and our spirituality today. Now, we're getting our spirituality from somebody else. You're going to have to go take a second look at it, and you're going to have to decipher it.
Right. So, what we do here, we welcome you to the finale of Why Is Conspiracy. I am joined by my co-host. I got MONSTA in the building. I got Grills in the building. Got Gabriel here. We had done 8 episodes. We're going to wrap it all up. So today's going to be a little bit of a different twist. You know, we love when Grills gets a little crazy in the beginning. He's like our little teaser, right? Because we definitely going to dive into what he was talking about just now. So
he's the knowledge dropper.
Yeah, we like that. He gets a little spicy. You know, today's a little laxed, but we okay. We good. How you feeling today, Gro?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah,
I really appreciate you.
It's nice to have you.
Oh, it's nice to be here.
Yeah, man. And MONSTA?
Same, good to be here.
Yeah, man. You've been doing things, been working at home too.
Essential worker.
Doing all sorts of things.
Yep, all kinds of fun stuff.
Shout out to all the essential workers out there. I hope that this series was able to help you through the time and just captivate your mind a little bit, get you intrigued. Maybe you did a little research. Maybe you found out something you didn't know about. Hopefully that was the outcome of watching these shows. That's all we wanted to do, was just give you a little bit different perspective and just not the whole hum that you get to see and hear every day. 3 different minds looking at something in a different way and trying to give it to you. So that's what Why Is Conspiracy was all about. And we had some cool episodes, man. Episode 1, we had just we had some visual issues. We had a little audio issues. So, But
that was fun, though. That was the jump off on the couch.
Yeah. And to this day, I'm still remiss, bro, that they missed out on the real second episode.
Agreed.
On the psychedelics, right?
Yeah. We did so.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned on that one.
Big things coming on that one.
Yeah. But that right there is like, it's crazy because we really did shoot 10 episodes. But one of them just, oh man, it was just unrecoverable. We all wanted it to work so bad. I let you guys listen to the audio, and after 2-3 days, they come back to me and they're like, yeah, I guess we shouldn't use it. Because none of us wanted to say don't use it. You know what I mean? Because we knew the conversation was dope.
It was a good conversation.
It was.
It was.
We were sitting right over there on that couch, and we filmed that. And really, those first 2 episodes, man, that really got the juices flowing, I think.
That's what launched us.
Yeah, that's how we really liked it. We like, okay, we could do this. So then what you guys all saw as episode 2 was really episode 3 for us.
Right.
And, we went along with, visually things started to change a little bit. It went from not just a still picture, and everything's looking okay. And then we got into 4K and then the audio started coming along and, but along the way, man, we talked about some crazy things. And no matter what we talked about, I was always able in my mind to rationalize everything you guys would say and put me onto by saying, you know what, my base theory, I could work this into my base theory of depopulation,
Yes.
So when you talk about depopulation, right, you got to think about is it mass murder? Is it just a way of life that allows people to expire after a certain amount of time because, in with the new, out with the old type of deal, like the earth can only hold so many things,
It's finite resources.
Right.
I mean, our planet only has so many resources on it. So if you think about it in the context of what the agenda is towards the depopulation, it's really just controlling the resources so that we have a future.
Right.
So that we don't. Perfect example of this, and some people could maybe be able to relate. In the beginning of this quarantine, I went out and food shopped for a month worth of food, and guess what?
Right.
Within a week, I ate it all,
right.
and I gained 14 pounds. You know what I mean? That's sort of like human nature. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's sort of the same idea that we don't gobble up all of the resources that we have. So that's sort of the idea behind the depopulation agenda, in my opinion.
And that's
of
Agenda
course, I'm not
21, right?
correct.
Well, Agenda 21. What
It
I
had
believe,
to do with depopulation.
Well, I think it's more about what's going to happen once everybody's depopulated.
Oh, okay,
almost,
okay,
kind
okay.
of. Like
Gotcha.
Agenda 21 is like the Green Deal and the sustainable development.
Right,
Certain
right.
things are not sustainable anymore, so we have to give up certain rights to save the planet.
It's the making sure you don't eat all the food in a week. I mean, if you want to simplify it, that's sort of what that
Well, what I also
is.
believe is that if the planet was run properly, that we would have enough resources. But the problem is, what I believe is that the powers that be know that at some point the world is coming to an end. We've completely polluted and destroyed almost everything on the planet. So I think that, especially like the radiation in the ocean, I heard that in about 10 years, there's not going to be any fish left in the ocean because of all the toxics and the chemicals that are being poured into the ocean. So I think that the powers that be know that we've let the planet go to hell. So they're going to get rid of most of the people here, and the people that are left, it'll be highly controlled. They'll have the rest of the planet for themselves for the rest of the period.
Yeah, it's gonna bring me to my next point and the next question that I got for you guys. But when you talk this whole depopulation and certain, how do I say it? I kind of touched on it before, like certain lifestyles, right? It's almost like they push a certain wavelength so that people naturally are gonna just run into something and be out of here way sooner than you would have expected them to be out of here. So, again, attacking like youth that might not, be so privileged, you know what I mean? And controlling that population versus, another, white collar population. I'm gonna leave that alone, you know what I mean?
Well, does AIDS might fall into that category because AIDS was originally targeted in the homosexual community.
Right.
So a lot of people thought that it was a targeted disease.
Right.
And then also one thing that idea led to people thinking that they weren't susceptible to it. So then it spread really rapidly at that point. You know what I mean? That's sort of the same idea.
Right, and that's when they found out for sure there's bisexuals out there.
Well, I know we brought him up on episode 4, I think it was. But Credo Mutwa, he, as a traditional healer, he dealt a lot with people in his community and his villages being, sick and having these diseases, and he believed that they were man-made, and that
These diseases, you mean?
yes,
Yeah.
and that
Including AIDS.
yes, and how when diseases would spread in the area, instead of going to the traditional healers that actually know how to deal with these diseases, they're not even called upon by the leaders of these nations.
Right. And you bring me, you're just gonna push me right into my next question with you guys. We talked a lot about they, right, and who they might be. We talked a lot about Freemasonry and all that, and the Freemasons, and even a little bit maybe outworldly for some, but the Anunnaki.
Well, there's actually even a correlation between they and the agenda, the population agenda. The modern day version of they have constructed what's known as the Georgia Guidestones.
Right. Okay.
which
Yeah.
you know we've have discussed that
Yeah.
before, which
Yeah.
has, I'm not sure exactly, I think 7 different languages are on there. I don't know, I could be wrong there.
Right.
But it lists the exact amount of people that need to be on the earth in order for it to continue. Now, who is that according to? Only they. Right? I mean, and who are they to decide anyway? I mean,
Right.
if you think about it.
And to my knowledge, does anybody know how it got there and like that? Who put that Georgia stone?
It's not known. It's
Right.
unknown. There are people that want to tear it down, that want it destroyed and blown up.
I'm putting pictures of it on the screen right now. I got to, you know what I mean? But that intrigued me also because you're right, Monster. You know, before we get into the next point, you know, that is exactly the depopulation deal. And it's like a low number. Isn't it like 500 million?
Yes, 500 million.
500 million. We're at 7.3 billion right now.
Well, Phil Schneider said that by the year 2029, 7/8 of the world population will be gone,
And that's about that.
and that the secret military and government has known about it for years, and they already know this is happening. You know, it's happening, and it's happening as we speak.
It's the whole, you know, with coronavirus. What do you guys think about? Is a good one. Is the current topic. The numbers that they give us for coronavirus. You believe them or no? You believe them?
I mean, that's kind of a loaded question because I believe that they believe that they're accurate. But again, the numbers are skewed because of human beings, you know.
Right.
With funding and stuff like that, you get different kinds of money for people dying of different things, you know. And also it's a little bit misconstrued. We just talked about AIDS, right? Nobody actually died of AIDS. When they died of like pneumonia, you know what I mean? So it's the AIDS that caused that to happen.
Right.
So that's what's happening with this coronavirus, and it just seems to be so unknown, if you believe the official story, that is. It just seems to be so unknown that the numbers are just kind of skewed. But for the most part, I believe that the people who are reporting the numbers believe them to be accurate.
What do you think about the numbers with coronavirus?
It's possible that they're being forged a little. Yeah, it's possible. I think there's a lot more to this virus than what we're being told, obviously, like there always is.
Right.
With everything. But I think it's the same with this. I have a lot of questions about it, so I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to.
Yeah, no.
No,
not at all. Not at all. It's a real thing. It's I need people to stay, safe and cautious of their own actions and stuff, and make sure they're keeping others safe as they can, not to take it lightly. It's just interesting. The numbers that come out, I tend to just believe them for what they are. You know what I mean? But then, like, you watch this report and that report, and they're like, these guys double reported, these guys, underreported. It's like, all right, but if he double reported and he underreported, then aren't we still in the middle? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like...
Well, that's what I mean about, I believe that, I don't believe it's malicious. Like, I don't think it's being purposely done.
Right.
But I think that there is some probably misskewment in the numbers.
Yeah.
It could be higher.
Yeah.
I mean, because in the beginning, people died at home that were never tested or anything. Older people,
Right.
I mean, we're not talking, I mean, it's my thought that the second part of this is going to be the thing that we'll be talking about for generations to come, that we're in a lull right now. Because in history with pandemics, that's traditionally been the case, and the doctors have already said that that's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope that
it's the bottom of the U, right?
Right, correct. I hope that we've mitigated this thing enough and that we've done enough to... I just don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't really know. I just hope. My hope is that we can open the businesses back up and that people can survive and that...
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm just unsure because I also believe in all of this stuff that we've talked about. And because I believe in that, I also believe that it's a time in the history of the world to be very careful, because if there is a depopulation agenda underway and we are trying to shave off 7/8 of the population, then, it's only just begun.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many other things that go along with that. Heroin use, for example, which goes unchecked. And they don't really try to do anything about it, and now more people are dying from that than died in the Vietnam War. And that, to me, that's all part of the depopulation control. That and, other diseases that there aren't any cures for by now. And, You know, because that's the thing. Everybody's hanging their hat on this vaccine and a cure, right? There's no vaccine or cure for AIDS. There's no vaccine or cure for cancer.
Right.
Or, you know, a lot of these other things that have devastated people.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And we still live.
Right. Speaking of that, are you under the belief, and I'll go with Grills, are you under the belief that cancer, the cancerous cell that is, that, you know, kills a lot of people every year, you know, is that man-made?
I don't know if it's man-made, but I think it's preventable, and I think that the cures for cancer have been cleverly hidden from the normal person because there's a lot of money in chemotherapy, and
Wow, that's a powerful statement right there.
I think that there's a lot of herbal and natural remedies to help with it. I absolutely do, and I think that there's a lot of information on it where, you know, there seems to be like a suppression of the medicines that would be required. So I do think that there is something, you know, shady there.
Yeah, that's a crazy perspective right there. That's powerful. Monsta, what's your take on that?
I guess I'd sort of feel the same way. And one of the things that I point to is that if you look at rich and powerful people, they don't tend to die from cancer, which is a very interesting thing. I've always sort of followed along with how old some of these powerful people live to be and what they actually die of, which is usually natural causes.
Heart attack.
I mean, if you look at somebody like the Queen of England, I mean, she's been the Queen for like over 50 years now.
Right.
And when I see her, she doesn't look like she's slowing down at all. Her husband's 96. He just crashed a car recently, and they told him he couldn't drive anymore because he wasn't wearing a seatbelt and stuff, and he hurt somebody else.
Well,
I don't know, you know, like there's
a lot of speculation that the powers that be and the elitists, that they're big into adrenochrome,
right,
and that they're really big into blood, and they need, you know, blood drawn in specific ways to keep their youth. And even in Hollywood, a lot of the actors and actresses, they know about the different types of ways to keep your body looking young, and so I think there's something to that, you know, keeping the body looking young and keeping yourself looking young, keeping your youth, but in ritualistic ways.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
One of the only people that I can think of that was sort of powerful and famous that died of cancer was Steve Jobs. But he was still on the come up. And his death sort of happened at a time where it allowed this technology to move into the direction that it has. He was a philosophical hippie. You know, he took LSD and sort of like tripped out with like gurus and stuff like that. So I'm not really sure that he would have gone along with some of the stuff that these intelligence agencies have done with this technology that he invented. I mean, he was very instrumental in moving the football along. And then he passed away quite quickly of something that, like I just said, rich and powerful people don't usually tend to pass away from.
Yeah, everything you guys just said just ties together. My top two reasons for a conspiracy is money and depopulation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the whole thing with the reason why it's not like a depopulation just because there's a lot of people,
right,
or just because there's money. I think that this is a plan that has been going on, and it's been in the works for like hundreds of years. I don't think it happens overnight. I think it takes a while. But the New World Order, the dawning of a new day, there's a reason why the sun is always used as the symbol, or the main symbol. And this goes back to the Nazis and the swastika and so many different, and the sundials, you know, the Egyptians with the sundials. All this stuff goes back, the whole idea of sun worship, it goes back a long time. And I believe that, you know, when you're trying to control people and depopulate people, well, you got to have their spirituality in the pocket, right? You can't have people knowing the truth about where we come from and where we're going. So I believe that it's very important for the powers that be to suppress the information on what really happens to us when we die, and you know, what's really out there. And I think that if you're able to control that, you know, you have a big play into what people think is going to happen to them. You know, and there's a lot of money in, you know, obviously religion You know, you get all the pastors and preachers on TV yelling, jumping up and down, and I don't think there's anything holy about any of that.
It's interesting, yeah. We're definitely gonna have to circle back to some of that. Here's another thing that was cool to just like listen to you guys talk about was when we talked about like suppressed knowledge, right? And we got into a pretty good discussion about you know, why schools teach, you know, this. They have a curriculum they teach that's just repeat, you know, copy, repeat, and just keep doing it, you know, same thing over and over. It's never, they only broaden it to just fit a certain agenda, right? But they'll never circle back and be like, oh, we're here, this is what Tesla did, you know, and here's what Reich did, and these were theories for this and theories for that, and, you know, here's a different way to look at this, you know what I mean? I found that discussion fascinating. You know what I mean?
That's my favorite episode.
Yeah, you know, it's very
so far.
Yeah, you know.
Well, I believe that we're all geniuses until, you know, I think that kids go into school geniuses and they come out, you know, all types of stuff because they're not being utilized properly. You know, if you're giving 30 kids in the classroom the same stuff to do and the same, you know, they're the same person. Everybody's an individual. We all have different skills.
Sure.
So if you know, cater to everyone's individual skill set, you'll have a better shot. And I think that the school system is used highly to indoctrinate the young kids and to get the kids at a young age to accept certain ideas and to program them in certain ways. I think these schools are like, you know, programming centers, to be honest.
No,
it sort of goes back to, it is the indoctrination portion of the corporation. So it goes back to the episode, I think it was 7, where we talked about how a birth certificate, you know, is related back to the United States corporation, right? So schooling is just the indoctrination portion of that. Because if you think about it, education really should start out with, here are the chakras in your body. This is how you control your mind to train it to do what you want it to do.
right.
You know, and, you know, this is your pineal gland, and this is its relevance in history, and look at what the esoteric figures and all these stone statues are doing with it, et cetera, et cetera. This is what education should be. But except for this is what we want you to do, so that you're the hamster in the wheel and you get a 9-to-5 job and you go and you get your health insurance, and don't even ask why you're taking 7 pills every single day, monster. Don't even ask why your numbers haven't changed in 6 months.
Right.
Just keep taking the pills and going with what you learned in school.
This is the thing. That's exactly right. And what we talked about also is how psychedelics plays into it. And when you do psychedelics, you start, you know, picking stuff up. You're like, hey, there's more to me? Like, I thought that I knew everything there was about the human body. When you do psychedelics, you say, wait, what is this, all this stuff? And you start finding out about the light wheels and, you know, the chakras, the kundalini, all of this stuff that we've never even been taught before or, you know, spoken to about. So automatically people are going to say, oh, that's crazy, and there's no way that's not true. But it's just, if a lot of this stuff that we're finding out now, if we were taught this at young ages, we would all be walking around speaking it like it's facts. It's what we're taught. Everybody is smart to a certain degree. You know, people that go bird watching know everything about birds. You know, I don't know as much about birds as somebody that does it every single day, bird watching and, you know, hanging out in the weeds, you know, looking for birds. But if you spend all of your energy, your time on a specific topic or a specific skill or subject, you're going to learn about it. So when you start to look into these subjects about where do we come from, who runs the planet, all these different subjects, you start finding stuff out you never knew before.
It was just one of those topics, though, for me that I wish it could change. Like, you know, sitting here listening and talking about it, it's like I should make a school where I have people that know about where your chakras are and people who know about how to like channel your inner chi and all that, teaching kids that are like 7 years old how to do this stuff. You know, like I should do that.
Well,
you know what I mean?
And what you would find if you did that is that in year 2, you'd probably be scrutinized by the IRS. In year 3, the building inspector would be at your school and probably shut you down because of some code violation that's on page 1000 that nobody ever heard of before. because that's how this works. You know, it's
Section Z.
That's what the suppression of it is. You know, that I think I touched on it in episode 4, where the reason why I found out about Wilhelm Reich is because I heard that they had burned his books, and I'm like, but this is America. How could they burn somebody's books? It's a free country. He could write books and say whatever the hell he wants. There's idiots that write books about the craziest shit that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But it actually was true. And the reason why I believe they burned him was because what he was saying was true.
Right.
You know, I mean, when they allow the Inquirer to be on the newsstand right at the checkout where you're buying your groceries that says the swamp monster came out and ate 4 babies and flew back in his UFO back into outer space. That's okay, but this guy can't talk about energies and potentially accumulating energies and what it could possibly do for you. Or, you know, even Credo Mutwa, who we talked about in that, who also has been somebody whose ideas were suppressed. I mean, I know he's not necessarily from America, but his ideas have also been suppressed over the years. With Dr. CB, we talked about in that episode also. And it all goes back to the same thing. It's not part of the indoctrination of it all. Yeah. They want you to just keep working and being part of the cog because, I mean, it depends on what you believe, but my personal belief is that it goes back to the origins of human beings to begin with.
Yeah.
Of what you touched on before about the Anunnaki.
Yeah, definitely. That subject, I feel we could do a whole like series just on that probably. But you know, another episode that I liked was when we got into like words, right? And we started talking about, you know, the meaning of different words and how they have double meanings. Like we have a lot of words that mean 2 different things, you know, like the one with banks and rivers, and banks having, you know, being a bank, and then river banks, right? And then the births and all that, and how there's birth, you know, women can give birth, or you can birth on like a ship, you know what I mean? And all the things that had to do with the maritime laws and all that stuff.
Yeah, because the judge rules from the bench, right?
Yeah.
And the bench in Latin is bank.
Right.
And the word bank comes from river banks, on 2 sides of a river bank. And then
I love
the
that.
river banks control the flow of the current.
Yeah, the current currency and
stuff. Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, so that all of that is, that's just part of the magical system that dominates the planet.
Yeah.
With words and terms and symbols. Yeah. And the more you're able to recognize the symbols and the terminology, the more you're going to see what's kind of going on here and where we're at.
And I keep hoping that people keep seeing the gold tassels.
Right, right.
Because
I've been noticing
that has been front and center in this whole entire situation with the pandemic.
Yeah.
When the president speaks, the tassels are front and center.
Right.
When Governor Cuomo speaks, the tassels are front and center. It's not coincidental.
Right.
It's there purposely. It's there in the shot so you can see it purposely. It's not for the layman. It's for the people who know what the symbol means.
Right.
You know, and this goes back to research, you know, and I hope that people did some research in those episodes and actually are starting to realize that this stuff is actually true. This is, you know, that episode was based on the truth.
Yeah.
I think all of them are because, you know, I think when people hear the word conspiracy, they might get turned off because automatically when people hear the word conspiracy, they think fake or not real or crazy stuff. And I'm not sure, you know, why people have such a hard time believing that, you know, the people that run the planet could possibly be bad people. I don't know why it's so difficult to believe. And, you know, not for nothing, and we spoke about this off camera, but hasn't, you know, all of the villains from any movie ever always been a billionaire?
Right.
And, you know,
a lot of time.
So I think that, you know, we want to believe that, you know, the billionaires that we know about in this world are really helping humanity and really want to see humanity, you know, do better. And I do think that there are people like that. But I don't think that the players that we've been introduced to now and the people we are seeing now as far as these billionaires and these people that have mass influence, I don't think that they have a positive agenda for us. And I do believe that there is something very serious going on with this depopulation. and knowledge is power. But at the same time, the people have gone for so long not knowing about this stuff. So when they hear the word conspiracy, they get turned off. They think, oh, I don't want to go down that road. That's like crazy stuff. But the word conspiracy is just a group of people getting together to plot in secrecy. And that happens,
Absolutely.
It's just getting people not to be afraid to confront these issues, and instead of saying, oh, that's just a conspiracy, to actually confront them for what they are.
I get it. Anything to add to that? That was one of my favorite episodes too, when we talked about the words.
Only thing that, not really related to what he just said, but the only thing to add that I have to add is that a really kind of cool thing happened, and one of the reasons that we started this show was to spread knowledge to people that may have never heard about these things that we talked about. During that episode, the aftermath, in the comments on YouTube, a person who had watched it dropped a bunch of knowledge on me about Phoenician syllables that I'm still researching now, that it's related to the words and how the syllables are related to each other. And it's very interesting to me. So I've now learned something myself that I'm still pursuing now. I just picked up a new book on that I'm about to read. So, that's an amazing thing that's happened too. I didn't expect to, something like that to happen. And I hope that happens a lot more also.
Right. Well, you had another story about a class or something, checking out some of our shows.
Yep. A friend of mine who's a teacher has a student out there who watched our show and then developed a questionnaire, and they're doing, I don't know exactly what their project is, but they're doing some sort of project about conspiracy theories, and they have an anonymous questionnaire out there on the internet that they developed. So it's quite interesting.
That's definitely cool. That's definitely
good
cool.
Stuff.
Absolutely. We kind of touched on it before, Grills, and getting to kind of dive into it now. The world talks about a higher power, something to pray to, something that is controlling fate, something that creates fate,
right?
Creates life, right? When we say that to somebody like you, and you look back at me and smirk, what's going through your mind?
I do believe that there is a creator or an architect of the universe and all things. I don't think that there's a big bang and then everything randomly happens and we just happen to accidentally be here. I don't think so. And the Fibonacci sequence shows that, how specific...
Say that in English?
The Fibonacci sequence.
Okay.
It's, specific plants have been proven that there is a design behind it. It was created because of the pattern. The pattern shows scientifically that there was creation. It wasn't just a random accident. So I do believe that there is a creator, but I think that we've been so misled from what God really is. And I think when you're talking about God, that's an English word to describe the creator of everything. Okay. Like Jordan Maxwell has said, the divine presence in the universe that men have called God. I don't know what God is, but I know what he isn't. And he's not on TV.
Right.
And I believe that God and religion has been used to not just make money off of people, but to keep people away from spirituality, from what's really out there, from what really connects us. Now, I think that there is a God force or a God energy that can be tapped into if the energy work is done correctly and if you really want to. And it's like in Star Wars, the Jedi and the Sith are both tapping into the same force. It's just, what are they going to use the power for? So I think that it's, when you're talking about God, when you want to actually connect to God, I don't think it's something that you need to go into a church to do, but I don't think it's something as easy as just sitting there and, speaking God. I think it's something you have to really connect to, and you have to really want it. And I believe that the religions have been used purposely to misdirect the people and to fool the people so that they think they know where they're going when they die. They think they have a really good grasp on their spirituality, so they don't really have to look into it anymore. They can just kind of speak the same words over and over and over again, and there's no new information that's allowed to come in because they're so stuck on what they believe in now, and that's why they're called believers, because they don't know anything for a fact. So every single religion, and you have all these different denominations of Christianity, and you got Catholicism, and you got Buddhism and Judaism and Islam. So you got all these different religions and different denominations of these religions. So it seems that nobody's got anything down for a fact. If it was this way, we would all be believing this way. But the problem is that there's different cultures and different belief systems throughout time that have been mixed together to create a lot of the religions that we have today. Now, when you're talking about Christianity, I believe that you're talking about the story of the sun. Because the sun in the sky is the most adorned object of all time. And you have the whole concept of the sun in the sky, it's moving. To us, it looks like it's moving. So the ancients believed that anything that was given its energy, given its life, was like alive, or was like representing God. So that the sun represented God, because it's given its energy, it's given its life so that we might live. So that the story of Jesus is actually the ancient story of the sun, but it's mixed in a way where it's done to seem like Jesus was a man that actually walked the earth and did miracles and was crucified. I believe when you're talking about Jesus dying on the cross, you're talking about the sun in the sky on December 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, where the sun is in the same spot for all those 3 days. So it's like it died, it stays in the same spot, and then on the third day, on the December 25th, it moves 1 degree up. So it signifies life and the sun bringing warmth again to the earth. So the whole concept of the sun and Jesus, the God's son, because the sun is God's son. It's not Japan's sun. It's not America's son. It's God's son, the light of the world, our risen Savior. So, and the sun walked on water. Jesus said Jesus walked on water. Well, look, go to the beach. You'll see the sun walk on water. So I believe this is very important. And I think that maybe MONSTA can elaborate if he knows a little bit about this. But I think that astrology plays a big part into religion and how they've spoken. Most Christians will say, oh, the horoscopes and the zodiac, oh, that's evil. That's all evil stuff. That's of the devil. And I don't think so, because in the Bible, God's speaking to Job, and he says to him, were you there when I created the Mazzaroth? Now, the Mazzaroth is the 12 signs of the zodiac. And in the Bible, 12 is a big number. The 12 tribes of Judah, the 12 disciples of Jesus, right? And we have the 12 months of the year.
A dozen.
Right. And 12, it's 12 because of the 12 signs of the zodiac. 12 plus 1 is 13. 12 signs of the zodiac plus the sun in the middle is 13. And that's why the number 13 is considered an unlucky number. It's only an unlucky number for us because we don't know how to use the number. We don't know the numerology. So that's why the sun is always behind Jesus' head. If you look anywhere, it's always the sun. It's not a halo, it's a sun. The sun is always behind Jesus' head. And the reason why his mother was Mary the Virgin is because it's the sun in the constellation of Virgo. And the Virgo is represented with the M. So a lot of this is astronomical, or astrology. It's not to be taken literal, but it has been taken literal. So now you got people fighting over, it's like the tortoise and the hare. People are fighting over what color the tortoise was, or how long it took the rabbit to beat the turtle in the race, and where did the race take place, and people arguing over that. No, you're missing the message behind the story. What's the meaning behind the story? Don't be so cocky. Just because you're better looking or you're faster than other people doesn't mean you're better than people. Somebody can still get over on you because you're being cocky and can still win. So be humble. And that's what the story of the tortoise and the hare. It's a message. What's the message behind the story? So that's what the Bible is trying to tell us. There's a message behind the stories. What are they trying to really tell us?
Another interesting tidbit, sidebar to that, is actually a turtle's shell. Actually represents what Grills just said. It has 13 around the outside, and then the rings on the inside actually equal the moon cycles of the entire year. So if you look at a turtle's shell and break it down, It actually is the real cycle that we move through, but everything has been moved to the 12 because the 13 has become the, taboo thing, because that's actually what the life cycle is. It's sort of, it also goes back to the music thing that we talked about.
So you're saying a turtle has the
Yep,
the
and we
little
can put
outer
up a
shell?
graphic of that also.
Yeah,
Yep.
a turtle has the 13 outer shell.
Yep, they're the little, I don't know what they're called, the little divots.
Rectangle.
Yep, and then the ones in the middle represent the moon cycles
And how many
throughout
are
the year.
there?
I don't know offhand. Offhand, I do not know.
That's
But it goes to the same principle as what happened with music, and how they moved music from the 432 hertz frequency to 440 hertz, because it goes back to representing the geometric patterns. And like I said, it transmits these waves into space. And if anybody was coming to us, they now can pick up on these things. So they basically scrambled that signal, if that makes any sense whatsoever. We had the graphic up during that showed the vibration at 432 and how it forms the geometric pattern. And then the one next to it is the 440, which just looks like a blob. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's all related.
But when it comes to religion, though.
When it comes to religion, I sort of have a different take on things than Grills. To me, there's three major religions, right? You have Judaism, Christianity, and Muslims. All three of them believe the same exact thing. Their God descended to the sky from that same exact place in Jerusalem.
Right.
So to me, that's sort of a base idea behind the religion.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Right. So there's a base idea for that, right? So if there's a base idea to that, then there must be something further beyond what those religions are trying to. And to me, that goes back to the stone statues and the representations in Egypt and Sumeria and Guatemala and all the different places across the world that represent these things that are put in stone, right? That to me represent a time well before any of these religions talk about, right? A time where, in my opinion, we were engineered on this earth, right? Because to me, the religion part of it goes another level, because we've talked about the Anunnaki before, and how, my belief basically is that the Anunnaki came here and engineered us to mine gold, and that we're here now as a byproduct of that. But the Anunnaki were not God. They had a God, Anu, who they worshipped. And to me, that was a single entity. The Anunnaki were male and females, the two brothers of the story, and there were supposedly 300 Anunnaki women that came, and I don't know if any of this is true, but this is just supposedly the story, right? But they worshipped their own God, who was a one being that I believe is potentially what we call God, but we have it so misrepresented because we think of God as in our likeness, and that, this representation of Jesus or whatever. But what if it's actually a lizard that has like sick mental capabilities that can just scan you and read your mind, and like, you know what I mean? Like literally engineered the people that engineered you, and can do things that to you are God only because you don't have an understanding
I think that's what
of what the universe really is.
I think that's what it actually is. I think it's like almost like a never-ending list of like just creators.
Right.
These beings created this, and then these beings created them, and then these beings created them, and then there's ultimately like one creator of everything that we could possibly know. But then that creator that we would call God, or the architect of everything, is trying to figure out what their God is or what created them. So that's why they created us.
Because this is the thing that's sort of...
So, hold on. To that point, though, then why is it so hard to fathom a Big Bang Theory? With that being said right there.
Well, I think with the Big Bang, it's almost like everything is just a big accident. Everything is just like, like a big coincidence.
I get
almost,
it, but then doesn't that kind of foster not knowing certain things and there being, even when you're the top architect, like you were just saying, trying to find who created you? Isn't that the end of the story? Like, oh, I was born from a cell that landed on this thing and that thing, and it was hot, and then it grew, and now I'm here.
Well, let's go back a little bit. If you're talking about our creator trying to figure out what created him
or her, right?
I mean, I don't know if it means that the Big Bang is possible, and that's the thing. It is possible, but I don't think that the Big Bang. I don't think it was so, like, you know, accidental. I think all of this is definitely specifically genetically created, like with purpose, not just by accident.
Let me ask you this: do you believe in the whole concept of everything we know as being our, like, system, our world, like, fits inside some cat's fucking, like
in Men in Black?
Yeah.
It's possible, and that's the thing. It's possible. I'm not to say, you know.
What do you think about that? Is that?
I think it's entirely possible.
Yeah.
Like,
And you know when I decided that that was possible? When I saw what a protein looked like.
Okay.
Under
a microscope?
Yes.
Okay.
And it just looks like something from another world. Like something I've never seen before, and it moves. And I said to myself, wow, if this is what a protein looks like, and that's what sort of, like, I have to eat proteins to, like, keep my, you know, diabetes situation in check and stuff like that, like, maybe there is something to that.
Yeah.
Maybe we are just sloshing around in a giant's brain of some kind or another. I don't really know.
It's a fascinating thought, because
just,
then think about the ramifications of that being for real and us talking about God. Right?
Well,
to go back to what you just said about asking him about the Big Bang there, it also goes back to what he just mentioned, the Fibonacci sequence, which that is what has shown mankind that this is intelligent design.
yes.
You know, man has looked at that and said, okay, this didn't happen by an accident. And how do I know that? Because the plant right next to it did the same exact thing. And the one right next to it did the same exact thing. And look at this sunflower, did the same exact thing.
Right.
So that means that somebody purposely, intelligently did that. And that person was the creator. Now, whether that person was the Anunnaki or whether we developed from octopus. I mean, well, octopus is that's a whole totally different
my
thing.
opinion is
Because
that
they're not even remotely related to the human evolution scale.
that's true. That's absolutely true. To my opinion, when I look out into the world, man, when I look out into the stars, I look at the mountains, there's a lot of beauty out there. There's a lot of beauty and a lot of awesomeness, right? I don't know if that's the correct word, but there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of positive things on this planet. And I look at the trees, I look at the stars and the sky. It's beautiful. So I don't think the creator of this planet is necessarily evil, because how could something evil create something so beautiful? You know, so I do believe that there is.
I know, like Caribbean, like oceanside places.
It's so beautiful,
like, it's,
yeah.
like, amazing to look at. With the wild, they got red parrots flying around with green trees and palm trees.
Yeah, I can't see something evil creating all of that. I mean, why?
And the schools of fish that you can see.
Just put us on a lava planet and call it a day, you know? So I think that there's definitely a creation, but I think that what God is, and God is, I mean, that might not even be the correct term for the creator. Everybody might be praying to God, and God, the real God's like, yo, I'm over here, guys. You guys aren't, what are you talking to him for? He's not even real. Like, what about me? So I think that it's an English word to describe, you know, the creator, but I think the sun is a big key into all of this. The sun in the sky is a big key, and the sun always represented God. It's
and
not
life.
And life, right? Like not as God himself, but as a part of God almost, or as like sent from God. And the sun in the constellation of Pisces, which we're in right now, is the reason why we see Jesus represented with the fish. It's because it's the sun in the age of Pisces. And this is why the Jewish people, they don't believe in Jesus, because they were blowing the ram horn, and because they were worshiping the sun in the age of Aries, the ram. That's why Moses came down. Moses was the first lawbreaker, right? He brought down the 10 Commandments, And when he brought down the 10 Commandments, they were worshiping the golden bull. They were worshiping the sun in the age of Taurus. So it was the end of the age of Taurus, of the golden bull, and now they were blowing the ram horn because it's the sun in the age of Aries. So now we are leaving the age of Pisces, which is Jesus with the 2 fish. They said, so now it's going to be the age of Aquarius, the man with the water pitcher. And in the Bible, Jesus says to his disciples, go and follow the man into the house with the water pitcher. It says that in the Bible, and that is speaking about the age of Aquarius. And Jesus even says, I will be with you until the end of time. But the translation is actually, when you go back, is I will be to the end of the age. Meaning that Jesus will be with us until the end of the age, and then it'll be a new age. So there'll be a new deity to represent the sun. And that's where we're at now. It's sun worship.
That's fascinating.
And this is why the New World Order uses the sun. This is why the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill, it's the eye with the sun behind it. If you look at it, there's the sun behind the eye. And that's the chief cornerstone that the builders rejected. And the reason why it's the sun is because it represents the light, represents the truth about Jesus. And that's why the sun is used, because it's the dawning of the new day, this new age coming. And the sun, the sun is rising up on a brand new day. Last night it was crazy, but today it's a brand new day. Opportunities are endless, right? So this concept is what they're using for the symbology for this new world. That the new world, it's like things are going to be done differently now.
The new normal.
The new normal, exactly. There it is. Yep.
I've talked a lot about the new normal with my peers, us essential workers on the front line, right? I think that is crazy, and I believe in it 150%.
Well, we also did an episode about that also, the predicated programming.
Yeah, man.
This is just
Predictive
another
programming.
example of that.
Yeah.
If they say it over and over and over and over and over and over and over,
the new normal
just becomes the new normal.
The new normal in the current environment and times and climate that we're in.
I'm not opposed to a new normal.
I'm not either.
Because I hated the old normal, but I know the new normal isn't going to be any different than the old normal, because the old normal was racism and all this other stuff that came along.
I'm just thinking about the human interaction, bro. I'm thinking about gatherings. I'm thinking about, how when I looked at people that lived in China and how they always wore masks out there.
That's going to be our new thing.
That's going to be our new thing, man. You're going to have to wear a mask everywhere you go. And that, what? There's people, bro. Can you imagine, George Hallis from football? Could you imagine telling him, you got to wear a mask when you go to the store, or somebody's going to get you sick? He'd fall over laughing at you. What? Get out of here. And that was just 1940s.
I'd rather wear
60s.
a mask than a ventilator. That's my feeling about it.
It's crazy. It's crazy right now. So the new normal, what are weddings going to look like in the future? What do concerts look like? Do they go virtual? Is Fortnite the new concert platform?
No.
Is Zoom the new concert platform?
The music, the entertainment stuff online is not really working out, because even when I would webcast concerts in the past, we would put the TV outside. I would bring my PA speakers outside. I would invite everybody over, and that's why it was fun. Because there was 10 people there getting drunk, hanging out, dancing around, having a good time. Sitting in your living room watching a concert, sure, if it's your favorite band, okay, cool. You know what I mean? But it's not really the fun that you enjoy when you go out to a concert.
Right.
You know what I mean? The performers aren't getting the energy off the crowd that they would normally get. I mean,
that's me and Dan Hughes talk about that with sports.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Sports going to be, to me, are the players going to be able to perform the way they would as if there was a big crowd that was watching them? Can they really do it?
In that first MMA fight, the one fighter that won said that he gained an advantage because he could hear the announcers.
Yeah.
And that was something that he had never heard in a regular fight because the crowd was so loud. And that he was able to hear what the announcers were saying he should do. And he said he won the fight like that. That, to me, that's wrong.
I see virtual reality becoming a thing, kind of like the movie Player One. I do see more people getting
You
hooked.
watch Player One?
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I see more people getting hooked into
Fortnite.
I see it, yeah.
And that gun Call of Duty. People are like, in Final Fantasy, like they're entrenched in these worlds that are like...
I think that there's going to be a virtual world or a game that's going to come out, and so many people are going to be buying skins and avatars for the game, and they're going to be like, you know, missing out on buying real stuff in real life.
I think that's
they're
a
buying
great
everything
prediction
for the game.
to do on the finale right there. That's an awesome prediction because I could see that. How many years you give it before that happens?
Maybe less than 10 years.
10 years.
In 10 years, this show predicts, I agree, that there will be some sort of virtual game that people will be playing that they will literally trade their regular life for.
And maybe live forever inside of it.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I believe so.
Like
Absolutely.
plugging themselves into the Matrix. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, that's a really good point. And that's something that is interesting for me, is that, you know, there's a lot of stuff that you and MONSTA have brought up that kind of sparked my interest.
Yeah. You start thinking about, that's what
and
it is.
vice versa.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, like the different perspectives.
That's why I love this show.
Yeah, that's
Same
what
here.
we're trying to get to the people.
Yeah.
You know, putting us three together, because like, you know, and shout out to FinallyTV putting people together. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because we
Right.
probably wouldn't have gotten together like this. You know, like.
Big thanks to FinallyTV.
You know
sure.
what I mean? Shout out to Angie.
Right.
So, gentlemen, I think that should wrap up. I think this was a great finale. We talked about different episodes. I had a lot of fun doing the episode. So, you know, I haven't shook you guys' hands in a while because the whole COVID thing.
Right.
But everybody, you know, sanitizer. Okay, so you know, no, but in all seriousness, you know, we definitely, even MONSTA, like, you know, you guys don't know the behind the scenes of what the conversations that happened, the feelings that got thrown around, you know.
We love you guys, so
Yeah.
we're just trying to, you know.
So MONSTA at one point was like, you know, we're having discussions about something. You know, I'm putting my life on the line coming out there during this whole thing. You know what I mean? And Grill's talking about, you know, he's got things going on at home, and you guys are trying to film a show. You out of your mind? You know what I'm saying? And you know, and I'm over here going, you know, I just need to push this thing forward. I just need help, you know, like, and they're trying to help me. I'm like, not that type of help, you know what I mean? So like, it's crazy, man. Like, you guys don't realize what it takes to get a show like this done, but we got it done. 9 episodes, solid, really 10, right? R.I.P. episode 2.
Right.
You know, but I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I hope you guys learned a lot. So Grills, thanks for joining us. MONSTA, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You know, we're going to come back for season 2, but a little bit of a spin, though. We're going to leave this actually as its own entity, right? Why is Conspiracy, a 9-show episode series on FinallyTV. When we come back next year, we're going to come back bigger and badder and better and more informational. So stay tuned for that. You'll see us 3 together. Not sure when, but it'll be sometime in the future, I promise. So for MONSTA, Grills, Gabriel, Angie, and Hazel, FinallyTV, Why is Conspiracy, grand finale. Peace out, y'all.
I stumbled onto a major company conspiracy.
What you stumbled upon goes way deeper than you could ever fathom.
What the hell are you talking about?
Listen and learn. Listen and learn. Listen and learn.
You gonna learn today?
I offer them whatever help I can.
Pay attention, son. This is for your own good.